For 8 months, from September 1977 to April 1978, Winton, a rich and desirable neighborhood of Columbus, Georgia, a city of 200,000 people, located 100 miles south of Atlanta, lay at the mercy of a serial killer. His 7 victims were all raped or sexually assaulted, then strangled, most with ligatures fashioned from their underwear. They were all white, mostly wealthy, elderly women who lived alone, and he, the police believed, was an African American. The strangler seemed to be able to strike at will. For months, Winton was flooded night and day by police officers, state troopers, freelance vigilantes, and patrols by the Ku Klux Klan, while those deemed possible victims were given hotlines and panic buttons. On the 16th of September 1977, Fern Jackson, 59, the long-serving director of Columbus's Health Education Department, failed to come to work or call in sick. Jackson was a woman of meticulous habits, and one of her colleagues went to her house on 17th Street to investigate. Her killer had entered through sliding doors at the rear, tied a nylon stocking and a dressing gown cord together, and wrapped them round her neck 3 times, leaving 3 deep crevasses. Her breastbone had been fractured, an act which would have required the application of enormous force. Although there was no sign of sperm, Fern Jackson had been raped. John Dimenstein, the strangler's second victim, was 71, a spinster from Philadelphia who owned a small department store. She spent the evening of the 24th of September with 2 friends at a steakhouse. Her companions drove her home and watched from the car as she let herself into her house on 21st Street, about half a mile from the residence of Mrs. Jackson. Sometime later that night, the killer silently dismantled the mountings of her garage door, an operation said to have taken up to 3 hours, and entered Dimenstein's house. When her sister-in-law arrived there at 10 a.m. the next day, she saw the open doorway and called the police. Like Jackson, Dimenstein was beaten about the head, strangled with a stocking wrapped around her neck 3 times, and raped, and this time the killer did ejaculate. Again, it appeared that the killer had stolen nothing. The mayor of Columbus, Jack Mickle, addressed reporters on her lawn, ringed by 10 police cars. "We've got a maniac," he said. "We gotta get this guy." All police leave was canceled. Staff on administrative duties were moved to the streets to join new intensive patrols. In the 1960s and early 1970s, the Columbus Police Department had been beset by corruption scandals, with officers fired for accepting bribes and for taking part in large-scale burglary rings. It also had a reputation for racism. Before McClung's arrival, black officers had been forbidden to arrest white suspects, while whites received higher pay. Some of the African-American police had fought in Vietnam, but on their return to the CPD, they were unable to drink from the police station's whites-only water fountains. From the outset, the police believed that the stalking strangler was black. Both victims' cars had been found within a block of each other in Carver Heights, on the African-American side of Macon Road. At both crime scenes, the police had discovered pubic hair which did not come from the murdered women. As the coroner, Doane Kilgore, later told reporters, in his opinion, these displayed Negroid characteristics. Detectives usually tried to base a case on a confession. On the 4th of October, Mayor Mickle announced on TV that the police had a suspect. 10 days later, the CPD revealed at a triumphant press conference that a black odd-jobman, Jerome Levis, had been arrested for an unrelated crime, the murder of his girlfriend. In an all-night interrogation session, he had confessed to killing Jackson and Demenstein as well, and disclosed details which only the killer could have known. Columbus could relax. The extra patrols were stood down. Or so they thought. Florence Skyble, 89, was almost blind and walked with a Zimmer frame. On the 21st of October, a week after the press conference, she was raped and strangled in her home. 4 days later, police found the body of the strangler's fourth victim, Martha Thurmond, 69, a retired school teacher. For a few days, McClung stuck to the claim that Levis had committed the first two. The evidence against him still exists, he said. Then Carl Cannon, a Columbus Ledger reporter, got himself into the county jail and interviewed Jerome Levis. He again admitted not only the first two murders, but also those of Presidents Kennedy and McKinley, adding that he had been with Charles Manson when he butchered the actress Sharon Tate. Although Levis cannot read, he can sign his name, Cannon wrote, and sign his name he did, to the Ledger confession and to a police confession, which is the basis upon which he was labeled a suspect in the first two stocking stranglings. On the 28th of December, between midnight and 4 a.m., the strangler assaulted and killed Kathleen Woodruff, 74, widow of George C. Woodruff. Kathleen was strangled with the varsity scarf. 7 weeks later, on the 12th of February 1978, came what Columbus cops still call the Night of the Terrors. It began with an attempted burglary, supposedly by the strangler, at 5:15 a.m. at the chateau-like residence of a retired industrial magnate, Abraham Ilges. An alarm was triggered and the police arrived, their tracker dogs fanning out through the woods. 2 blocks away, Ruth Schwab, who ran a textile business founded by her late husband, awoke to find herself being straddled by a man in a mask who was trying to strangle her with her tights. Expert in judo, she fought him off and managed to press a panic button. The police arrived within 2 minutes at 5:45 a.m. Even as the squad cars swarmed round Mrs. Schwab's house, the killer made his way to the home of Mildred Barham, 78, diagonally opposite the Ilges residence he had so recently left. He killed her with a cord from a Venetian blind. Perhaps the night of the terrors scared even the strangler. For his last murder, he moved out to Steam Mill Road, a mile and a half from Winton. There he killed Janet Kofer, 61, a school teacher. And then for 6 years, nothing happened. The investigation continued, but the police had no real suspects. The years passed.
Next on Columbus Confidential, we go into the capture and the trial of Carlton Gary. Can you really handle the truth? If so,